So, Knuckles just dropped, and to everyone's surprise, it's caused drama in the Sonic community. And if you've seen the new show, then you probably already know why. For a show called Knuckles, there sure is a lot of Wade, and seeing how the fans reacted to him in the movies, getting a full series that's mostly about him trying to go bowling to reconnect with his father who abandoned him at the TJ Maxx might not be a Sonic fan's delight. And yeah, there is quite a bit of not so subtle product placement throughout the series. But after the first Sonic movie's little hint hint nudge nudge barely noticeable Olive Garden shtick and Silo ad, this feels like the norm, and honestly that could be said for most of the series as well. I think that the Knuckles show feels like what you should be expecting from a Sonic movie spin-off, but how do I, a huge Sonic enthusiast, feel about the show? Well, let's get into it. But before I do you want the chance to win a Visa gift card? Well, I have the perfect opportunity for you. I'm hosting my first giveaway, where I'm giving out 3 $20 Visa gift cards to celebrate 1K subscribers. And all you have to do to enter is join my Discord in the link below, where after my channel hits 4,000 watch hours, I will draw for the winners, which my channel is currently at 905 hours. So make sure to join while you still can. And with that out of the way, let's get into Knuckles on Paramount Plus. To start, I can't say that the series is the worst piece of Sonic media to ever exist, like Twitter has been raving about at release, especially when this exists.
It's chilling down time, yeah.
But I also can't say that it's my favorite. I initially sat down and watched the show start to finish, writing script in between each episode. But it got so negative towards the end that I just decided to scrap it all and take some time to let my binge brain settle. And now that I've had time to settle my thoughts, I can say there's a lot good. And then there's Wade's sister.
I'm sorry, Mom. It is what it was.
Oh.
Oh! Oh! Ow! Ah!
The show as a whole was a decent experience, but I think one of its main problems was its advertising. And I'm sure a lot of other people, were under the impression that this series was going to have the main focus on Knuckles. However, Knuckles is more of a B, maybe even C plot to this show. The first episode being where he really shined to becoming more of just a background character as the show shifts focus onto Wade and his journey. Making me think the show would have done better with the fans if it were called Wade, and sometimes Knuckles. But when it comes to Wade's story, I actually believe it to be a nice part of the show. One of the standout points being a conversation between Wade and Knuckles in the first episode, where we get insight to Wade's personal life, learning about how his father abandoned him, and so he bowls as it reminds him of him. There are a good few moments like this that I believe make this show stand on its own. Also in this first episode, we get to spend some time with Sonic, where we can see that he's maturing. He's lost a lot of his cringy humor from the movies, and now is acting a lot closer to his game counterpart. Where on top of being quippy, he also has a lot of good insights for his friends. And it's nice to see as our movie Sonic grows and matures throughout this line of media. In the first episode, we also get introduced to our main 2 villains throughout the series, Agents Mason and Willoughby, whose names I had to look up to tell you, which is indicative of their place in the story. These 2 characters didn't add much to the series for me, outside of giving Knuckles a couple of goons to fight with until the main bad guy could show up in the last episode. At first, I thought that maybe there could have been something deeper to the British lady after a conversation she had with Knuckles in the second episode, but then we learned that her job bad, so now she bad. Which is also the backstory of the big bad guy, whose name is... Wait a sec. Let me look it up.
His name is just the buyer. Okay. Well,
is just the buyer. So yeah, outside of a couple funny lines from Kid Cudi, that's Knuckles' villains. Wade's villains, however, are a different story, with this first one being his ex-bowling partner, who he overcomes in the 4th episode, after having a dream sequence that appears as a low-budget rock opera that's absolutely filled to the brim with references, including one-to-one level design recreations, all the way to even an Iblis cameo from Sonic 06. Making it one of my favorite episodes of the series. And then there's Wade's other villain, Pistol Pete. But before I get into him, I first want to talk about Wade's family. In the 3rd episode, we are introduced to Wade's mother and sister. Wade's mother is characterized as a strong-headed fighter who's also Jewish, which is important to her character seeing that they related the Holocaust to the Echidna tribe.
Our tribe has been through some tough times too, minus the giant owls. He's basically Jewish.
And then there's Wade's sister, who is easily the worst character in this entire show. Every scene she is in is like they needed to reach a quota of annoying shit they had to make her do. I mean, hell, she even violated our man.
Wade?
It's like the writer's goal was to make the fans realize how lucky we are to have Wade instead of Wanda, and you know what? They succeeded. The only scene I could say I enjoyed having her in was seeing Wade so ready to just let her die, because I was right there with him.
The first to go will be your precious sister.
Oh, no.
I'm okay with that.
But luckily, she has no importance to the story, so I don't have to talk about her anymore. Because where I find the heart of this show is in the relationship between Wade, his mom, and how they were impacted by Wade's father, Pistol Pete. There are a lot of strong character moments as Wade is so eager to repair his relationship with his father. So much so that he is ready to turn a blind eye to his father's actions with such an empty apology. His mom, being more mature and knowing the man she had once married, tries to warn her son before getting himself hurt all over again. But Wade is reluctant, hoping just because his parents didn't work out doesn't mean that he couldn't have something more with his father, which almost immediately bites him in the ass. But this is something that happens to people. Not only is it something that, in certain ways, I could relate to, but I know people who had gone through the same actions. Taking a chance to build a relationship with the parent who left, only to learn they didn't leave because they were some great person, but because they're still as shitty as the day they turned their back on their family. Pistol Pete isn't the best written villain in the world, but he's a great villain for Wade, showing him and the audience that villainy can also take the form of more than a mustache-twirling menace, but just as the incompetent parent who abandons their child. Something I'm sure a lot of kids and even parents themselves had to go through. Something that a lot of them would blame themselves for, even though it's not their faults. And let me say that again for those of you in this position. It is not your fault. You did not deserve that, and I'm sorry for those of you that have to experience it. But, moving away from the realities of life, Knuckles is not the perfect show. Its characters can be hit or miss, and there definitely isn't the focus on Knuckles that people thought there would be. But there is a lot going good for this show. On top of Wade's arc being a good story, even if very cheesed up, this show has beautiful set pieces, especially neon lights, which is a set I would love to see be turned into a Sonic stage. This show also has stellar fight sequences, with my favorite being the one where the focus remains on the candles that everyone has to fight around, having amazing choreographing as well as unique camera play as it spins around the candles, never letting them out of the focus. And finally, for the little we do see of Knuckles, he eats up those scenes he is in, especially with the relationship between Wade and how it grows over the series. Knuckles is by no means a masterpiece, but it has a lot about it that is special and shouldn't be discredited just because Knuckles wasn't in every scene of the show. And with that, I conclude my thoughts on the Knuckles Paramount original series. an altogether decent ride with a good mix of highs and lows. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more from this channel, I highly suggest subscribing, as this channel is just at the beginning of its journey, and I would love to have you stick around and see the ways I grow and change from here. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.